Squad podcast. This is episode 61. I'm your host, Jeff Hornacek. We are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. Thank you guys for checking us out. Before we go around and meet the fellow bros, just want to give two quick pod updates. Obviously, Oscar nominations came out, I guess it was yesterday now. So we're going to work, at least I am. I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing. I kind of am a lone wolf. I'm going to try and watch as many Oscar movies as I can between now and next week, and then we will give our bro opinions on the Oscar nominations. So if you've never listened to our podcast before, it is going to be unlike most other Oscar prediction pods because we don't fancy ourselves artsy filmmakers. So it'll be sort of the layman's take, which I think is a little bit more interesting.
I can literally tell you off the titles of movies, I won't watch them.
Okay, that's fine. I think Geiger and I are willing to undertake this together.
I'm almost done, so.
Perfect. And then one last thing before we get started, I want to give a shout out to friend of the pod, Henrik, who sent me and us, but I think I'm the only one that watched them, some hilarious videos this week of dubs of famous actors' quotes over Darth Vader in scenes. There's one of Joe Pesci, and there was one of Samuel L. Jackson that I'll have to let you guys watch after this. So thank you for that, Henrik. It was pretty fucking hilarious. But now let's get into it and meet the fellow bros. We start with the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Banner, if you had to compare yourself to any one character from Gilmore Girls, who would it be?
Milo Ventimiglia.
Is that a real person on that show?
I mean, that's the actor's name. He's the dude that's in the one with Mandy Moore now. Mainly because he turns into the dude that gets to make out with Mandy Moore.
Oh, I actually just said that hoping to catch you off guard, assuming you would know nothing about Gilmore Girls.
Oh,
and I guess
don't test me on my Gilmore Girls knowledge. Watched every episode twice.
I'd say knowing you as long as I have, I can't fucking believe I was surprised by that. Next, we go to our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger. Matt, what's your favorite insult to say to your neighbor when he tries to fucking walk into your yard?
Damn, you gave Banner the softball with the Gilmore Girls question. You're coming with me hot.
Let's say I'm your neighbor right now. I'm encroaching your yard. You're standing outside getting your mail. You're like, what the fuck is Tom doing?
I mean, usually you dress like Hitler or someone from the KKK, like on Step Brothers, cutting the grass and yelling everyone recycles. But if someone steps on my yard, bro, I don't know. I'd probably just invite him in for a beer just because I'm fucking lonely.
Yeah. But does he ever leave your house alive again?
No.
Yeah.
But,
well, it depends if he comes with beer.
No one likes to drink alone.
Ain't that the truth? Jesus said that. All right. Preach. If you have not checked our show out before, even if you have, we start every episode with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is chest day. So our chest day segment this week, actually, I believe it was a week ago today. I could be wrong. Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, the original director of the first two Ghostbuster films, tweeted out a teaser trailer and announced a third installment to the Ghostbusters franchise coming sometime in 2020. It has since been released that supposedly the original cast of Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd will be returning, with Sigourney Weaver also expected to come back, and a hopeful come out of retirement Rick Moranis as well. Unfortunately, obviously, Harold Ramis, who passed away, cannot reprise his role. But what this got us thinking of was, for me, the two Ghostbusters films were, I was obsessed with them as a kid. I dressed as the Ghostbusters for Halloween. I watched the TV show. And we started to think, what other franchises, or can franchises even, be resurrected after a really long hiatus between installments? So Ghostbusters 2 came out in 1989. So let's assume that this does hit its 2020 scheduled release date. That'll be just over 30 years between entries. And before we go into the track record of other franchises that have done this with mixed results, successfully or unsuccessfully, and some just really pedestrian or ones you even forgot were like sequels, I want to ask you guys, and Geiger, we'll go to you first. Do you give a shit about the Ghostbusters 3 happening to get our tastes out of our mouths of that Paul Feig all-female version that came out 2 years ago? And then just in general, before we really go into the titles, do you like when this happens, or is it just kind of a lost cause at this point to reboot or revitalize a franchise, I guess, with a sequel, because a reboot's totally different after like 20 years?
So do I care about the Ghostbusters, the actual actors getting back? Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be great. I love Bill Murray. I love Dan Aykroyd. obviously most of them, like any comedians, had their time and they peaked, and now they kind of just do chick flick movies or whatever the hell they're doing. But this all kind of spawned with. Did you guys see the tweet that Leslie Jones sent out?
Yeah, we actually we tweeted at her from the Broforce Squad podcast.
Okay,
that made. I mean, we're not going to get into it, but that made no sense in 500 different ways.
But I like when they do this, especially if they leave a franchise that kind of left on a high note. You know, kind of. I'm looking at the list right now, but Return of the Jedi, perfect example. 32 years later, Star Wars: The Force Awakens comes out. Obviously, those were awesome trilogies, and then you just come out with The Force Awakens. I know there's movies, Star Wars movies in between there, but not with the original cast like we have now. There's some other ones that I kind of dug how Halloween did it. Check out our Halloween movie commentary that we did a couple months ago in October. But even if the franchise tripped up, they have 40 years to get the taste out of their mouth with Halloween. So they're just like, hey, none of those other shitty movies counted. Let's just go for the first one, the classic, and we're just going to do a sequel right after that. I think this opens the door. Once again, we've been preaching on this pod for a while to have a Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton. That opens the door for them. Batman and Batman Returns, everything else does not exist at all. And then we just have Keaton basically been on the shelf for like 30 years training a young whippersnapper named McGinnis. I have no problem with this, man, especially with Hollywood. And I know that we weren't going to bring up the Leslie Jones comment, but I dig women movies. But the thing is, they need to have their own original story so they can create their own franchise and, you know, not take Ocean's 8 or Ghostbusters or something like that, that we already kind of know the actors. And, you know, those movies are bad examples because they're just atrocities. But a whole women movie is fine. They just need an original idea with a good writer and good director.
I totally agree, and that had, not to digress too much, but the Paul Feig reboot had a really talented cast, like Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Melissa McCarthy, and Leslie Jones. But her tweet is so clueless. She goes, "Oh, you're just going to replace us with male actors?" I was like, "You were replacing them. They made two movies with this IP." And then that's the whole reason your movie ever got made. Like, did she not know that her Ghostbusters was not the first one ever made? I was so confused by this. But anyway.
But once again, what we say, every good movie needs time to get the directing right, the score right, the writing right, the right actors. And that's why I like where some of these franchises take 20 years off and then just come up with a new, fresh idea. And it also revitalizes some actors, like you said, Rick Moranis, that maybe their career didn't die, they just quit. But we get them back, and that's fucking awesome, I think.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Banner, what are your thoughts?
So, first off, on the whole idea, yeah, if it's done right and there's a story that they need to tell or a story that needs to be told that is compelling, I'm all about it. Do it. I've got a few examples here of, well, first off, Star Wars. I'm not sure if it worked or not. You had the original trilogy. Then we had, and I know it's a little different because it's original cast, but then you had the prequel trilogy, and now we have the sequel trilogy. Is that what we're calling it?
Sure, man.
Whatever. I don't know if that one worked or not. I think the jury's still technically out on that. One that it definitely did not work on, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The original trilogy
gouge my eyes out
is fantastic. I do not consider that atrocity of Kingdom Skull or Quest for the Kingdom Soul or Discovery Island,
you're saying
or
it wrong,
whatever it is,
but that's okay.
Whatever it is, I've legit I've only seen it once, and you guys should check out our Raiders of the Lost Ark commentary. I love that trilogy. That fourth movie is god awful. Harrison Ford doesn't want to be there, but they're giving him a shit ton of money. Whatever the chick's name is hasn't been in anything since, so she's like, I need the money. Shia LaBeouf doesn't know what fucking planet he's on.
I was in the theater with Banner, and during the vine swinging scene with the monkeys, he audibly shouts, "Really?" in the movie theater.
And I'm very rarely that audible about it, but I was fucking pissed. But I don't want to leave you guys with a bad taste in your mouth. I've got 3 examples of movies that I think years and years later, they did a good job with a sequel movie or another movie. One, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Jumanji.
Yeah.
I actually really liked the the follow-up to that sequel, whatever you want to call it, with The Rock.
I did too, and I tried to not like it.
I went into it going, I hate this movie, and I came out of it going, I cannot justifiably say I hate this. Yeah. Another one was Clerks and Clerks 2.
Oh God, yes.
There was 15 years between the two of them?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that.
The first Clerks though was it was so underground that was it even really made, basically? To be able to
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out of that too as well.
Yeah, pretty much the whole Kevin Smith filmography as an actor is those movies.
But I think if you just take those two movies, I think that was another really good layoff that they got right when they came back. And then my bread and butter right here, I think one that worked fantastic, that they took their time and did it right, was Incredibles to Incredibles 2.
Mm-hmm. And that was one that fans were clamoring for a very long time.
I wanted Incredibles 2 literally the moment I left Incredibles 1. And I think that was another one of those franchises, and we can call it a franchise now, even though all of those were obviously just one movie to a second movie and not multiple movies to a third or fourth. But I think that those three franchises really worked.
So a few things I'll add real quick, and this was the case with the new Halloween, and I think it's a lot of times the case, sort of, I guess what Men in Black International is doing, but you bring the franchise back with the plan to give it legs to continue. So Jason Reitman has said in the brief comments we have that the new Ghostbusters 3, will see the old Ghostbusters mentoring a younger group of them. Obviously, they're yet to be cast, but we can assume...
It's the kids from Stranger Things.
That would be kind of a cool tie-in. But we can assume if they're going to bring it back, obviously the studio wants some contingency plan, right? If this works, if people love it, where do we make the next 3 movies? And if you're going to bank on Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson coming around for those again, that's probably not, forward thinking.
That's what they should have done with Kristen Wiig and all them, because they were fucked before the word go.
Right.
With that movie.
Well, the funny thing is, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson all have cameos in that movie, but they don't play their Ghostbusters characters. So it's like they agreed to show up and be in it, but you overtly decided not to connect it to the universe, which is, all right, whatever. That decision was made.
I haven't seen it. Why the fuck would I?
Right. But I think the risk here with bringing in the new blood, I think you have to do it. But the nostalgia factor, we know we're going to like what we get from the old guys, but do we like the new characters? Do we like the new actors? Do we like the way they interact with the characters we know and love? That's where the risk is taken, but it has to be made. And that's where, here's a few movies that have really fucking sucked at this. Independence Day Resurgence. Or as I call it, Independence Day Regurgence. I saw this movie on a plane, and I was hoping the plane was going to fucking crash, because that's how unwatchable it is. But again, they can't get a lot of the cast to come back, and so this is Will Smith's son. He died off screen. I'm like, that's pretty weak. Okay. Crystal Skull, like you said.
With Shia LaBeouf, it's a fucking joke.
Godfather Part 3 actually was one 16 years after The Godfather Part 2, which some people think is the best movie of all time. And the third one, I haven't seen it since I was 5 years old, but it's pretty much maligned as a horrible movie from everything. And then,
I didn't even know they made a Godfather 3. Am I a horrible person for not knowing that?
Wasn't 2 supposed to be a great movie? And
yeah,
3 was terrible?
2 was incredible and 3 sucked. Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's what I thought.
Yeah, Banner, you're a horrible person, but it has nothing to do with that.
Mm.
And then 3, and we've talked about this at length on the pod, this formula is not applicable to comedy franchises doing this, because comedy sequels in general don't really work. But here's 3 that took anywhere between 9 and 20 years for their sequel, and they were all disappointing to varying degrees. We have Anchorman 2, Dumb and Dumber 2, and Zoolander 2.
God.
So all of those...
I just threw up in my mouth a little.
I don't think they prescribe to the same theory, because I think getting comedy right a second time is a lot harder than a normal franchise. 2, I want to point out, Ben, I'm surprised you didn't mention this. Jurassic Park 3 sucked, I think. Jurassic World, really fucking good.
Yeah.
That was a 14-year gap. And then the original Tron, I didn't even know really was a thing growing up. It was made way before they should have even tried. If you go look at the graphics and the special effects,
really hard to watch.
I was like, who signed off on this?
Tron Legacy, though, is fantastic.
I will take a bullet for Tron Legacy. I fucking love that movie, dude. It's like one of my top 50 movies of all time. I don't know. I love it so much. Alex English, friend of the pod, and I used to always just quote sing the score to it. It's so fucking incredible.
Done by Daft Punk.
Does it? Yeah, and I saw it in IMAX. And in IMAX, before the movie starts, they play the score in the theater, and it just gets you so jacked up for the movie. I was like, I hope, and I put it on the 3D glasses. I was like, I hope this movie gives me a seizure, because that's how I want to fucking go out. So those are a couple that varying degrees, long gaps between. Some are successful, some aren't. The reason we bring this up is I was really excited for Ghostbusters 3, but there's that question of, all right, how long is too long to recapture this magic? Or like Geiger even said, especially with comedians, and Ghostbusters isn't a straight comedy because there's a large science fiction element to it, but what if we bring this back and I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, dude, Dan Aykroyd just should not be a lead in a movie in 2020, like what if he just can't do his 20 carries with the ball anymore?
We're gonna ask the same question when Bad Boys 3 comes out, Bad Boys for Life.
That's true.
Yeah, that's one I left off here, obviously, because we haven't seen Bad Boys 3, but that will definitely be in this discussion soon. All right, that is our chest day topic. That moves us on to the second part of the show, our protein shake, where we go around and see what's in everyone's protein shake, also known as What Have You Watched Lately? Banner, we'll go to you first. You're usually either have 17 shows you somehow watched, or you actually had to attend to real life responsibilities and only got to see 2 things. So which of the 2 is it this week?
Actually, I feel like I've got a nice little mix of things this week. Obviously still going through Black Sails. Again, you guys need to check that shit out. Balls deep in season 3 right now, so it's really, really getting good. Obviously, I watched True Detective this week as well. Check out our review on that when it drops. I watched the first 3 Transformers movies, and this was mainly for you, Jeff. I forgot. I actually secretly kind of liked them, in a weird way.
I oddly love the last hour of Revenge of the Fallen.
It's a lot of fun.
Because all it is explosions. It's literally the last hour.
Awesome.
And Tyrese looking off in the distance.
The best part is, in my opinion, is in the third one, Dark Side of the Moon, when Tyrese is retired and he's like a fucking garbage man. And he's like, nah, those are my brothers that fell. Let's get them. And then they go to Chicago, and I'm like, how the fuck do you have an AK-47 and a fucking rocket launcher in the back of your Fast and the Furious car?
How don't you?
My bad. So I watched those 3. Like I said, it was a lot of fun to kind of go back and revisit. Probably do 4, 5, 6, and maybe Bumblebee this coming week. And then, guys, this is a comedy that friend of the pod, one of our personal friends, mentioned to me and said, you need to revisit this because it's on Netflix and it's fucking hilarious. And it is. And it's The Interview.
With
Franco and Rogan, where they go and they interview Kim Jong-un. Oh my God, guys. It's so fucking funny. Yeah.
I did like that movie. I love James Franco and Kim Jong-un's friendship.
It's oddly weird. And then there's this one part, more specifically, whenever they first land in North Korea, and they're like, "This is Dave Skylark," and Franco's doing this little monologue to them, and he's miming it, and he goes, "We are all different, but we are same." Different, but same.
When Rob Lowe on his show comes out as being bald, and Eminem comes out as being gay, that alone is worth that.
Which I don't understand how they got these guys to do that, but it's fucking awesome.
I bet Eminem suggested that to them in
some weird way.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gay." Like, what?
Anyway, if you guys haven't revisited any of those 4 movies, you guys really need to check them out again. They're all a lot of fun in their own way.
Remember when The Interview came out, the whole debate with that? North Korea said, if this is released in theaters, we're going to fucking blow up the whole country.
Yeah, but we listened and we released it on YouTube for free. So now even more of the world got to see it.
Yeah. Why couldn't they have done that with The Zookeeper? Threatened that movie.
That was a great movie, though.
Sadly, the world we live in.
All blood needs to eat, bro. Okay, for me, Man, I've been into guy movies lately. Have we forgotten how great Four Brothers is?
So good.
Yeah.
I got the rock now, Jerry.
And also, when I watched it, isn't that the first movie when Hollywood started thinking that Wahlberg could be an A-lister? Because he was Marky Mark in The Funky Bunch. Then he was in Boogie Nights, but he wasn't really in anything. And I think this came out before The Departed. Wasn't this the movie when people were like, dude, he might be able to carry a movie?
Was that before or after Shooter?
I think this is before Shooter. I think this is like his first movie that came out, and they're like, okay, he's actually a lead in this. Obviously, he's a lead around Tyrese and Andre 3000.
Garrett Hedlund, my boy from Tron, man.
Yeah, he's good. But
He's the rebellious brother, which is funny. Of all those guys, he's the rebellious one.
And I'll tell you, man, one of the greatest endings ever, because usually in guy movies, the ending is a bunch of shooting each other. I just love how it's just like a fucking boxing street fight.
Isn't Sofia Vergara dating Tyrese in that movie?
Damn right she is.
That's a
Over under, we would mention Tyrese this much in a pod.
God.
I know, whenever Banner said it, I'm like, God, it's weird how we like. I mean, we're on the same cycle, Banner. It's disgusting.
He's gonna call us and try to get money from us, probably.
He needs it.
That's what I'm saying. If I know Tyrese, and I do.
The other movie I watched, which I've never seen, which is actually really good. I'm a big fan of boxing too. Is Hurricane with Denzel Washington, which is actually a true story about Hurricane Carter. Obviously, that boxer wasn't on my radar because he was like in the 50s or something. But it's a very good movie. He won or was nominated for a couple awards for it, and it's just Denzel being Denzel, dude. Just total fucking Oscar movie. And long story short, he was a boxer that was probably going to win. I think he was a middleweight champion, but then he got committed for a crime he didn't commit, obviously because he's black in America in like the 50s, and he had to basically serve a ton of time in jail, and then they tried to get him out. I believe it was like 20 years later. It's a really good movie, though.
So does the movie do the timeline thing where it's like him as a boxer and then him as...
Yeah.
Like,
and the boxing part, some of it's like in black and white, which is kind of cool because obviously it'd be back in the 50s. It's very well directed. I didn't look at who directed it, but it's very well directed. The other movie I watched, I haven't finished all of it, but it's Snowden with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'll just say a couple things about this movie.
Is he like a hacker or something in that?
He works for the CIA, but he's basically
Edward Snowden, right?
Yeah, and this is a real person, and
is
you're probably
Skarsgård in that?
Yeah, Skarsgård and fucking Nicolas Cage is in it.
Jesus.
But Edward Snowden's a real person. I know you're thinking, yeah, Geiger did. I like, dude, I don't know. I don't pay attention to any political type stuff, but he's in the CIA, and then he kind of turns on the CIA, and then they're out to kill him. Obviously, in this movie, I didn't learn anything. One, I already knew that Joseph Gordon-Levitt isn't that. He's an okay actor, but he's not someone like Johnny Depp who could play someone like George Young in Blow. He just can't do it, man. He comes up with this voice. The voice is terrible.
Oh, I do remember that from the trailers. I was like,
yeah, I looked at Edward Snowden today, and he does have a weird voice, but Gordon-Levitt playing that character, he just can't do it. Like, it's like a fighter trying to go up in weight. You just can't do it, man. You're going to get knocked out. The other thing is, you know, people are like, can you believe our government? Yes, I know every time I masturbate in front of my computer, someone in the government's probably could watch me. But, dude, if the government's watching you masturbate of all the people masturbating on the computer, it's just not your day. What can I tell you?
How many terrorists have we missed just because our FBI is watching people jack off, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what else are you supposed to do to fill, 10 hours? You're going to watch someone jack off? You're going to watch someone, maybe, plan to, destroy a mall? I don't know. Depends on what kind of day you're having.
So is Snowden done in the ways, does it have like an enemy of the state vibe, or is it much slower than that?
It's slow. It's slower. I mean, it's a true story, so he's not going to be running down a street getting shot at. It's interesting. It's just, for me, I was like, yeah, so, I mean, basically it's very interesting. If you're very political, you should watch it, because it's something. He was in the Bush regime, and then he resigned because a lot of fucked up shit was happening in the CIA. But then he goes back when Obama becomes president, because he's like, oh, it'll be better under him. But it was basically the same shit, which I mean, our government does a lot of stuff. I mean, it's up to you to decide if it's to protect us or to pry on us. I mean, that's not my job to tell you what to think. But I guess it is an interesting film if you're into that. Just my stuff is like, I'm like, yeah, duh. I mean, obviously, all these electronic shit, they use it to track us, not to make our lives easier.
Right. Interesting. I I think this one thing that reminded me of, we should do a commentary or a broback on Enemy of the State, because I fucking love that movie.
Yeah,
The Will Smith
with,
classic. Gene Hackman, Will Smith.
In the second, they made a second one that has is it Luke Wilson in it or Owen Wilson?
You're thinking of Behind Enemy Lines.
That's what I said.
No, the second one was Enema of the State, and it was actually a musical performed by Blink-182.
I would watch the shit out of that.
No, they did a second one. Maybe it was Ice Cube that was in it.
That he was in the second Triple X. That's Triple X State of the Union.
Keep going though, Banner. I bet you're getting pretty close.
Here, I'll go, and if you think of it, jump in. If they made a second Enemy of the State, it was a straight to like DVD fucking movie. It was not.
He's getting out his phone. Hurry, Jeff.
He's like, I'll find this. Few things I watched. I'll rattle off a couple for the pod. We did a movie commentary on Little Giants that you guys should check out. We'll probably drop it around, actually, maybe pretty soon for the Super Bowl. I don't know. We have to have that discussion off pod, so I won't start it now. But the movie holds up. I'm a big Kevin O'Shea fan, although and I won a fuck ton of money because the spread was all messed up in Vegas. Watch the commentary for our catch of that plot hole in the film.
Still want Reese's.
I rewatched. I guess a rewatch, even though I was making out with my 9th grade girlfriend the whole time I saw it the first time. Humble brag. Freddy versus Jason for the podcast with our legal counsel, Ronnie Cycli. We will drop that movie commentary sometime around Halloween. It was awful, but in all of the best ways possible. If you have not seen it in a long time and are a fan of either of those franchises, do it again, because it's short, it's horrible, it's makes you hate yourself for loving it, which is exactly what I wanted out of it. Also for the podcast, I watched the M. Night Shyamalan new movie Glass. We did a review on it. Ronnie Cycli and I did. Check it out after you go see the movie, or you can check it out before if you just want to spoil the ending for yourself, because it is a spoilers review. But non-spoilers, I think that it was a solid way to wrap up the trilogy. I think M. Night has learned his lesson from some of his shittier movies, and he knows what risks not to take. And just see James McAvoy play that character again of Kevin Wendell Crumb alone is worth the price of admission. And there's a few new wrinkles to his character in this that are just incredible. And I mean, he's not going to get any Oscar recognition for it just because it came out so early in the year. But once again, just as was the case in 2016, if you want to see like fucking acting at its highest level, go watch James McAvoy as that character from Split. Two other things I watched. One was the show You on Netflix, which Ronnie Cycli watched previously. It's about a guy who is really obsessed with this chick, and things get out of control very quickly. Guys, this sounds like chick flick fodder. It was originally on Lifetime, but I'm telling you, it is very, very dark. Like, if this was on Lifetime, they must have done that. Viewer discretion is advised before every commercial.
Fear
like
with
what?
Wahlberg. Is it kind of like Fear with Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon when they're really young?
An incredible comparison. Yes, that is what it's.
Hey, Geiger hasn't even fucking seen it.
No, but dude,
no, I haven't. If you haven't seen Fear, though, we'll throw that in the description below, because that is a great movie with a young Wahlberg and a young Reese Witherspoon. It's a really good movie.
Right, it's exactly like that. This guy is more cerebral than Wahlberg is. Not as intimidating, just because, I mean, look at Wahlberg. But dude, this thing builds and builds and builds, and it does not end in a way you think, and it's set up in a really good way for a second season, but not in like an annoying, oh, they don't answer any of my questions that I had. I think it is a very satisfying first season. It was only like 8 40-minute episodes, and Cycli got so hooked he binged the whole fucking thing in like a day. I watched it in like a week and a half, but dude, if you have like a significant other and you're looking for something to watch together, this is one that you'll both get a lot out of.
I also, the main character in that is Dan Humphries from Gossip Girl. A lot of women actually are having trouble seeing him as this new character and not as Dan Humphries. So keep that in mind when you're watching it. For those,
I would describe that as the definition of a first world problem for those women. One other thing I watched.
How impressed are you that I knew that was Dan Humphries from Gossip Girl?
I don't think impressed is the right word.
Sickened?
Borderline disgusted. One last thing I watched was the Netflix documentary Fire. Have either of you guys seen or heard about this?
Seen it. Was waiting for one of you guys to watch it before I watched it.
Oh my
Good stuff.
God. So Geiger loves a good shit show, and that is exactly what this documentary is. If you don't know, it is based around the infamous Fire Festival from 2015, which was this music festival that was sold to a bunch of affluent people as like this trip in the Bahamas, a paradise location where you will have your own private villa and see great bands and drink and party on Pablo Escobar's island that was seized by the Cayman Island government. And they all show up, and this guy Billy McFarland, who put on the festival, is business partners with Ja Rule, so that's kind of your first fucking red flag.
That's your first problem.
But the whole thing is an absolute shit show. None of the bands are there. The stage isn't built. They're staying in tents from Hurricane Harvey, I think. Their food is like a piece of bread with cheese on it. It's a fucking nightmare. So this guy swindled everyone out of money and all of his investors. And Ja Rule has a great quote in it that I think I'm going to get tattooed on my dick, where one of the employees of Fire after the festival is like, dude, some of us are going to go to jail because that was fraud. And he goes, that's not fraud. That's not fraud. What that was, and there's this awkwardly long pause while he tries to figure out what the fuck he actually wants to say. And he says, false advertisement. So there you go. The business guru Ja Rule, you don't get your money back because it wasn't fraud. It was false advertisement. All right, you guys have anything else before we move on to the end part of the show?
I have so much to say about that comment that I'm just drunk enough that I should keep my fucking mouth shut.
Okay, you do that. All right, our last segment of the show is a segment we haven't got to do in a little while. Brian, before we start it, do you have a question that you want to ask us?
Yeah, yo, brah.
It's too loud.
Brah. Yo, brah.
Yes?
Brah. Yo, brah. Brah. Yo, brah.
And that parrot being choked to death on the floor signals that it is our question and answer segment, our Do You Even Lift Brah part of the show.
Need to
Where
adjust
we
my
dig
levels for that.
We dig up questions from around the internet and answer them because we can. And our first question comes to us from Mark Wong at TakeAbow30, who asks, since there is a new season of True Detective, which check out our review on season 3, what would be your dream casting for future seasons? Geiger, how about you?
So season 1 and now season 3, the detectives are equal. They're a good partnership. I'd rather like to see kind of a mentor-mentoree program going on with kind of an old grizzled detective who would be Brad Pitt with a young whippersnapper that just got in and is really eager to make a dent and make a name for himself, and that'd be Zac Efron.
I was about to say Zac Efron, but I would have said Jeff Bridges instead.
I was
want the
hoping you'd go Michael B. Jordan, but continue.
No, I want the villain to be Jace Momoa because I want to see him in. I've already seen him in Red Road, so I know he can pull this off in a True Detective. I want to see him as a bad guy. I want to see him as a fucking just a beast.
I'm already scared to death of him, and I haven't seen that. That's pretty good. Banner, how about you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
You already said.
Yeah, I think Jeff Bridges would be good in something like this. I like your idea of going someone grizzled and someone young. Zac Efron, I think, is a perfect candidate for that. I also would like to see a woman as a detective. I mean, we have a lot of those. Maybe like a
like Rachel McAdams, where she's like just so damaged that she can't even.
No. I'm thinking like, honestly, I think maybe an Amy Adams would be really good, or a what the fuck's the Gyllenhaal chick?
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, I think, just fucking smokes 3 packs a day. I think she would be really good in something like that too.
So for me, speaking of great redheads who would be perfect in this, I kind of thought of Michael B. Jordan before this, but what about a detective team of Michael B. Jordan and Jessica Chastain on this show?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be just incredible. Jessica Chastain, to me, the thing I love about her, I'm thinking about like in Zero Dark 30, where she can walk into a room full of men and be like, shut the fuck up, I'm talking. That would be like incredible to watch her banging down doors trying to hunt down like a killer or someone. And then Michael B. Jordan, just put him in everything. I don't care whether it's comedy, action, drama. I don't give a shit. Just put him in all the things, and we're fine. Bases covered. Great question there, Mark. Obviously, as huge fans of the show, especially now that season 3 is starting to right the ship, I'm hoping we get many more seasons where we actually get to talk about that in depth. All right, our last question is an awesome one. It comes to us from Derek Richardson at Dirk_101. And he says, what's on your Mount Rushmore of franchises that started off great, then got progressively worse with each sequel? His are Jurassic Park, Die Hard, The Matrix, and Underworld. So I was thinking this. You can either do your franchises that got better and then got worse, but I'm just going to do my Mount Rushmore of my favorite franchises that aren't like massive big ones. So whatever you want to make your Mount Rushmore of franchises, you make it, because Derek has got my creative juices flowing. Banner, you want to go first?
Yeah, I sold out and I just went with my favorites. Mount Rushmore personal of franchises. I've got Indiana Jones. Again, first 3. I do not include the 4th one. I exile that movie to Exile Island because it's fucking terrible. Star Wars, whatever it was, whatever it is, whatever it's going to be, as Disneyed up as it's going to get, it's still an incredible franchise and an incredible story. Obviously, I got to represent the X-Men franchise. Guys, I fucking love it.
That one actually works for got worse as they...
It does, but you have to take Days of Future Past out of that because that's a fucking good movie.
Sure, I agree.
And you yourself
and Logan,
have even
obviously.
Logan.
And you have even yourself admitted that First Class was good, that you liked it.
I like First Class.
But so you're right.
I hated Apocalypse and I hated X-Men 3, and X-Men Origins Wolverine is maybe the worst movie of all time.
That's not part of the X-Men franchise.
What? The X-Men is the first 2 things in the title.
No, that one's not. That one doesn't count.
Dude, Jeff, remember that helicopter scene in fucking Origins?
God damn it! Yeah.
That one Michael Bay was on fucking set for. And then last but not least, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's worse as it goes.
Sad. It's sad. Which, as it came back, it's ended. Like they're rebooting it.
Yeah.
Even though I think the last one was the second best one.
And that one's actually one that you can almost put in for our chess day today. I know it wasn't 10 years. I think it was maybe... It might have been 10 years.
Well, there was that Stranger Tides one that...
Yeah, we don't count that one either. We don't count that one either.
No one watched.
Seems a little selective, but okay.
Yeah, we don't count that one either. But that's my Mount Rushmore. There are a lot of other franchises that didn't quite make the cut. If there was like a Mount Rushmore, but it had like 30 people on it, it'd be a lot easier conversation.
That'd be a lot of shit to carve into stone.
Well, there's
Geiger,
like, what, 50 presidents?
But yeah. Geiger, how about you?
I'm going to stay true to Dirk's question, and they get worse as they go. The first one I got is the Rocky franchise.
Yeah, that's
excluding
a good one.
Creed. Creed doesn't count. Rocky
It's a different
1,
franchise.
fantastic movie. Rocky 2, I think, is one of the greatest sports movies ever. Rocky 3, I liked. I didn't think it was that good. I think Clubber Lang is the best villain it's ever had, but the movie's not that good. Rocky 4, and going into Creed 2, I just laughed at the people that it is a good movie, but I'm like, are we going to really sit here for 2 hours and pretend Rocky 4 was actually a good movie?
Right, because if you've seen the tone of Rocky 4, it's like...
They should be taken seriously. He was in Russia for 4 months. He never picked up a boxing glove or sparred. He just lifted rocks, and that's how he trained. It's the stupidest fucking movie I've ever seen. As worse as they get going, the Hannibal franchises. Silence of the Lambs is one of the greatest movies ever, and they just get worse as they go. Red Dragon, Hannibal Rising. I don't know if you remember that shitty prequel movie from 2007 where they got a young Hannibal, which actually sounds kind of cool.
Dude, Mads Mikkelsen in this series, though, was actually pretty good. That's not connected, but like...
Yeah, we're just talking about the movies, but when he eats Ray Liotta's brain at dinner, I'm just like, okay. That's where I get off. And the
I
last
kind of
one
like Red Dragon, but I see your point.
It's okay, but none of them even come close to Silence of the Lambs at all.
Very true.
And the last one I have, I know it's January, but going back to Christmas, the Santa Claus.
Oh, wow.
It's great. The first movie is great. I laugh my ass off every time I see it. Not only are the second and third ones bad, I've tried to rewatch them when they're on ABC Family, and I do not laugh at all. It's so painful that I just watch them to see if I will laugh or how stupid they are. That is one of the worst franchises fucking ever.
I can't even watch the especially the third one. I tried this past Christmas. I couldn't even watch to the next commercial.
It's absolutely terrible.
It was like,
that's the one with what's his face as Jack Frost, right?
Martin Short.
Yeah, Martin Short.
It's all right.
Tim Allen actually funny, but they just they went too kiddie on it. The first Santa Claus is for kids, but also I remember seeing it in theaters. My dad was laughing because he loved Home Improvement, and that was Tim Allen. And I don't know if they just had him not write stuff, or the Will Ferrell effect happened to him where he just was not funny anymore, or what happened. But the last two movies are dog shit.
Yeah. All right, I have two that fit Derek's question, and then two that I just want to give a little bit of love to. Two that I liked that got progressively worse. Saw. Oh my God.
There's no progressively; it's exponentially worse.
Yeah, the first two Saw movies, absolutely incredible. Saw 3, all right. Saw 4 helped save Saw 3. 5, 6, and 7. I mean, 7, the last 30 seconds are great, but other than that, what the fuck are we doing?
we have 90 other minutes that we have to watch to get to that 30 seconds.
And then even Jigsaw, which obviously came out like a year and a half ago. I mean, what are we doing, guys? This is dead. Stop. Do something else. I hate to say it, but the Batmans, the original Batmans, like the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton ones, and then of course Joel Schumacher takes over and everything goes to complete shit. Check out our Batman and Robin movie commentary. It's a great time. We get hammered drunk. One that I love that's had some ebbs and flows, but it's peaked again in recent years, The Muppets. So peaked in the middle, early to mid-90s, Christmas Carol and Treasure Island, obviously the original
and
Muppet
Muppets
movies,
to
classic.
Space.
Muppets from Space is not that good.
It's pretty fucking good.
Well, Hulk Hogan is in it, so that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah,
Really?
that tells you it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick vote. Who thinks if Hulk Hogan's in the movie, it makes it good? Geiger, please.
I'm a Randy Savage fan.
God
so.
damn it.
Yeah, there you go. May he rest in peace. And then I like Jason Segel's The Muppets. Was not a huge fan of Muppets Most Wanted, but it's not that bad. So The Muppets is one. And then another one that's just been really consistent, and we haven't talked about it or given it enough love on this pod, so I'm going to do it all on my damn self. Mission Impossible. Dude, Mission Impossible Fallout was my favorite movie of last year. It's fucking incredible.
Do you and Mission Impossible Fallout want to get a fucking room or something? You bring it up all
You
the
bring
time.
it up
Do we
every
really
other
watch this
fucking
movie, Banner?
pod.
I'm going to keep doing it, too.
Watch this movie because, Jesus.
You have to. It's incredible.
It's
so
at the
fun.
point now where I almost
want
want
to get down Mission Impossible Fallout skirt since it came out this summer, so I don't understand it. I guess we'll have to watch it.
It's been playing footsie with me under the table this whole time. Yeah, Mission Impossible. Even like the worst Mission Impossible is still better than like the average movie in a lot of the franchises we mentioned today.
I'm shocked that you didn't say the Fast franchise.
Yeah, I'm still, dude. Honestly, I'm in a weird place with that because I don't know how I feel about it right now. I really don't.
You love it. You fucking.
I
love
don't.
It.
I really don't. And then there's the emotional aspect with Paul Walker not being a part of it anymore that I really, really, and I always am aware of this, but now I feel it, that they're just trying to get my fucking money. And
Wait till Hobbs and Shaw, whenever The Rock has like 8 workout scenes because he's going into a gunfight because you have to have muscles in order to survive a gunfight. It's going to be awesome.
Well,
Yep.
yeah. Did Jesse survive a gunfight?
Thank you, Dom.
Possibly.
Check out our Fast and Furious movie commentary and our Broback reviews on, I think, all of them.
We did
right?
every single one. I can't believe we fucking did it.
And I'm sure we're going to get a Hobbs and Shaw trailer during the Super Bowl, so be prepared for that. All right, before we go, anything you guys have you want to close with, or just plumb tuckered out?
The Rock is carb loading for that trailer right now.
How many
Hopefully
times do you think
better-
he'll say "some bitch" in that movie?
Some bitch.
Where you some bitch? You're like, isn't it supposed to be son of? Like, why won't he just say son of a bitch? The bitch is the bad part of it. It's not like the son of is the part you have to edit out. And we have been the Bro 4 Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Bro 4 Squad. Check us out on Letterboxd. All of our reviews are there. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Bro 4 Squad, 3 words, and check out everything that we post, all of our content, and our squad blog on our website. broforcesquad.com. For the mad scientist Brian Banner, the enforcer in the paint Matt Geiger, I've been the mayor Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys, and we will catch you next time. God, Hobbs and Shaw. What a fucking joke that guy killed Dominic Toretto's like best friend, and now they're just hanging out with him, drinking beers.
That's so two movies ago. You get it.
Recording.
All right.
You got the backup? Yep. You're good.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll start whenever you're done. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.